It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the founder and owner of NIL Empire, Scott Eisenhouse. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you
Thanks for
talk
having
about,
me on.
thank
Yeah.
you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in working in NIL and creating a business?
Sure. Well, I've always been interested in sports and um, you know, when NIL popped up, it was kind of a no-brainer because to me, I was looking at it as a new and emerging industry that was about to pop up in the sports world. So I thought of it more as an opportunity to be involved in ways that I couldn't before. So it was kind of a seamless transition for me to just kind of dive into it. I was already working with a sports agency, and I still kind of consult with them, but most part, I'm really dived in. I've divin, nope, I've dove. For the most part, I'm locked into the sports world, and I love the concept of player representation, especially at this scale, because in college, the stakes are a little bit lower, because we're not negotiating multi-million dollar contracts against billion-dollar corporations like the professional teams. And so this is a great, learning curve for me. And I've been able to negotiate some pretty high profile deals and some pretty large numbers, through transfer portals and um, through companies that are interested in having, sports marketing affiliated with some of the athletes that I represent. And it's been just really exciting. So when it popped up, I kind of had that vision, and it's been everything and more.
Of course, before getting into the world of NIL, what was that like getting to represent those clients in the sports world?
That was very cool. You know, building relationships with guys who you watch on television perform. Uh, that's something that's very special to me. And, growing up, I watched a lot of sports, and, I was loyal to my teams, and I would, be like so invested, and I would know starting lineups and the backups, so many different teams, front to back. And I was really just obsessed. But I would, obviously, like, I wouldn't know any of the guys. And now getting to meet them and share with them, and hear about things that are totally not even sports related, and build relationships with these guys and understand what they're going through. It's been very eye-opening for me, very rewarding. And I really value the ability to just have that be a part of my life.
Of course, what was that process like getting to create your sports podcast scouting report?
Sorry, scouting report. Yes, so I just obviously, um, I guess it's actually interesting. I was listening to a lot of sports podcasts, and I was talking to my guys, and all of it was kind of surrounding this notion of my, like, the guys that I know personally don't have a voice, and they don't have an outlet to share. The top athletes, like, the LeBrons and the Draymond Greens and the Steph Currys and the Luca. Anytime they want, they can go on any podcast and they can share their thoughts, anything that's on their mind. They can just, immediately get off their chest. But some of the other guys, they don't have that opportunity. And um, I knew a lot of guys who have a voice, and if you Google their name, all you see is how many touchdowns they score on Sunday, or how many baskets they, had in their last game. And to me, I thought, let me at least give an opportunity for some of these guys to be uh, heard. And it ultimately it has ended up helping humanize a lot of these guys. And they all have very interesting stories, and it's great to be able to share them. So I just wanted I just wanted myself to be an outlet for them to share their platforms.
Of course, what was that experience like, giving them a voice and giving them that platform to share?
It's been great. The podcast world. It's not something I had any experience with, but I had my very close friend. Um, he is in the audio world, and he's a rock star. So when I came to him with the idea of a podcast, he basically became the de facto director and started showing me, which ways to go and what kind of questions to ask and all sorts of stuff. He's also a sports guy, so it was kind of easy. I felt easy for him because he was very natural at it. And the production of it itself is trying. It's hard. It's hard to get everybody to commit to a time. It's hard to get guys to open up about things. They like to be someone like to be a little bit private, but when you have a good moment and you share something that's very special and meaningful, it's rewarding. It's been really cool.
Of course, what was that process like in getting started in NIL and creating your own business, the NIL Empire?
um at first, I was very careful. So at first I really was like, let me see if I know how to do this. And so I wouldn't say I'm an expert yet. I'm definitely very comfortable where I am, but like I'm not ready to go sign 150 athletes next season. I you know I understand how large my operation is, and I want to be very careful about not biting off too much. And so in the very beginning, I did that to scale. It was like I lived in Boca. Let me sign a couple of guys in Boca and then in a couple of other areas, and that's it. So, I used my relationships. I was talking to guys, maybe some of their family members. Like, so I had a couple guys in the NFL, and I was talking to their little brothers. And while they were going through college, I was helping them in other areas just because I had that connection already. And then at FAU, I met a couple of really special guys, and they're in Boca. And I said, okay, I'm here. I can actually meet with them, and while we're learning about what NIL really is, because it's just getting started, we can have face-to-face conversations and sit down and understand. Okay, that's a good deal, and that's a waste of time, and this is an interesting opportunity. What could it turn into, and what do we even want out of this? What is successful? Could this potentially be too much time that we're putting into this that eventually gets me away from my end goal of making the NFL or the NBA? Or no, this is a perfect way to spend an hour a week because it can actually build my brand, and it's doing so many things that when I get to the next level, it's actually going to be really helpful as those steps continue to build up. So in the beginning, it was very interesting. I was very careful, and then eventually, once I understood, okay, this is what I'm capable of, and this is how many people actually want. I put together a spreadsheet, figured out how many clients I need in order to represent how many dollars, which end up hitting my personal goals, and then and without losing any consistency for my guys. So once I was able to scale, it was a lot of fun.
Of course, what was that process like for you to become an NIL agent? And what are some of the things that people need to do that want to become an NIL agent?
The process is it's simple. It all you need is drive. And I know that sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, but it's really true. If you put your mind to anything, you can really potentially anything, you can go achieve it. So, if I wanted to be the CEO of Google, I would really have to get a little bit lucky as well. But at the same time, there's in terms of becoming an NIL representative, there's not a lot of limitations. So once you're interested in doing it, just a couple little things you need to do, and then obviously find players who are interested in working with you and be good to them. Because if you're not, they're gonna walk away. I've been very lucky. I've never I've had to part ways with clients before, but it was usually on my side. There's no ill will. It's just I didn't see value or, real returns in the areas that they were competing in. And I didn't think any local deals would, really come to fruition. So I said, I think you should find someone else, whatever. It's all good. But like, I'm still on good terms with everybody. And I've never lost a client that I was really, um, really torn about.
Of course, how did you come up with the name NIL Empire for your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was fooling around with a couple of ideas, and I always it's funny. I always we all have this goal, this vision of like where we want to go in this world. And for me, one of the big things on my bucket list is having a big house full of a big family. And I've always called my future, my vision, whatever, like the palace. Oh, well, one day I'll be in the palace, and it'll be full and people will be running around, and I'll host my buddies, everyone will come over for Thanksgiving or for the Super Bowl or the March Madness. I've always had that vision. And so when I was thinking about the palace, I was thinking, I don't know, like what kind of words kind of go in with there. And I watch a lot of shows, and Empire seems to be a theme in them. Some of my favorite shows are things like The Last Kingdom or Marco Polo, which was canceled after 2 seasons, but it was such a great show. And Game of Thrones, like all these things, and like so Empire like kept on popping up, and I wanted to have NIL right there in the beginning so people instantly knew what I was about. And it was available, so I locked it down and I said, okay, like this is the one. Let's see how it goes.
Of course, what services do you offer for your clients?
So I offer a lot. So it's the basic that every NIL representative will offer, as well as myself. I'm not trying to promote my competition here, but this is just the truth. We are all trying to get brands to sponsor our athletes. Okay. And then what I like to do, and maybe some others do this as well, is as I'm, building relationships with these guys off the field and off the court, I will help them. I will advise them on how they can best maximize their potential for the draft so that they can make sure that they're doing everything that they need to in order to reach the next level. And I'm able to do that based on my relationships with professional teams and scouts and coaches, and then as well as a sports agency that I'm working with. And I use all of that information to help these guys really grow in that way. And then there's a myriad of other things that I'll do. So like, if my guys want to, really build their brand and be social media, like more towards the influencer side, I will help them book appearances on podcasts so that they can get their name out there. I will help them book appearances at local, whether it's charity or philanthropy, anything that will help them boost their brand, anything that can help them be shown a positive light. And as well as that, we'll talk about social media campaigns, and I'll actually help them to grow their social media based on the content they're putting out, how and when and what style of content, and how to be consistent with their own brand. And so all of that is also part of it. And then I also like to, in this day and age, there's this shifty little component of the business, and it's called the transfer portal. And I have been really lucky to be able to help a lot of guys navigate the transfer portal and negotiate the deals that they're getting from the universities so that they're also maximizing their potential there. And it's not like I'm saying, okay, whoever's going to pay our guy the most is going to get them to play. It's usually really not like that. But if one of my, athletes is in the portal and they say to me, these are the one or two schools that I really want to attend, and we're fielding 15 offers. Well, I'll use the numbers from all the schools, and I will try and figure out where, what's the best, what's the best way to leverage that. So I'm not gonna, I don't want to name names because it's inappropriate to tell you like how much my guys are getting. But one of my clients was recently in the portal, just a couple weeks ago, and he got a nice offer from the school that he was interested in, but a nicer offer from a competing school. And so I simply went to the athletic director. We were all talking, and I said, this is what's on the table with another school. If you could get a little bit closer, I think that would really help, your position. And they agreed. And so I was able to add an extra sizable number, just based on having a clear and open communication, whereas my player would not have been comfortable asking for more money because he was already receiving more money than he, expected. So in all of those ways, I try to be helpful to my clients, and in more. I mean, first of all, there are more ways popping up, and then there's a couple that I haven't really listed because I really want to have a one-on-one connection with my guys and have them, not have everybody understand all the secrets that I'm giving out. But those ways I'm very happy to be transparent about because it's the truth, and it's got mass appeal. A lot of when I'm pitching new clients, I tell them all of that typically, and they understand what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to accomplish.
Of course, what does that process look like to go get those new clients for your NIL empire?
Yeah, that's actually a lot of fun. I will typically, usually there's some sort of connection already. So sometimes I know a player's, like in the sports world, everyone really knows everyone. So like sometimes I'll be working with someone already, and I say, oh, okay, I know you know this guy because you played high school together. Can you introduce me? Or can you just give me his number and I'll, just reach out to him and say that I know you. Is that cool? And no one ever has a problem with that. But sometimes there's somebody that just pops up on my radar, and I, get tenacious, and I will try and find a way to introduce myself. So whether it's, seeing random highlights on Instagram or YouTube of somebody who's, doing something special, to hearing about, someone going above and beyond for their community. Those are things that really stick out to me. And so I'm always interested, and I'll go to high school basketball tournaments or high school football games, and I'll go to a lot of games that people wouldn't typically consider, high profile events, and I'll be interested in recruiting. And then on the other side, you know, just reaching out to somebody blindly and like a cold call, basically, saying, hey, my name's Scott. I'm interested in you because of X. I'll lay that out, and I'll see if they want to have a conversation. And if they don't, there's no hard feelings. But for the most part, they do. They're interested in, okay, what do you know about NIL? How can you help me? And if we can get eye to eye on that, then there's no reason we can't work together.
Of course, what does a typical day in the life look like as an NIL agent for you?
So that's actually the most interesting part, is that no day is the same. There are certain things that I do that are repetitive, but for the most part, every day can be very different and very flexible, which I really like. I work from home. I'm in my home office right now. Some of the consistent things are, I wake up, I get in front of my desk, I look at all my emails that have come in, I look at all my players' social media profiles, see what posting they have done, anything that I'm aware of or anything that I wasn't aware of. I just kind of catch up, make sure everything's cool. And then I also, check Google. I make sure, no one's name is in the news for the wrong reason, which it's never happened because I choose the right guys. But for them, it's good to just check. And you know, I, another thing that I do every day is, I reach out to companies. So I know where my guys are located, especially if they're moving around. Like one of them's 2 weeks, at home for the summer, or one of them is relocating and they're over here. So I know where everybody is, and I try and reach out to get to companies in the areas that my guys are physically located. So if they wanted to do a quick social media post, they would be literally able to be present. Um, and then tasks really vary and go from place to place, so I can really be all over the place. Sometimes I'm driving down to Miami or up to Sarasota or over to, as far up as Jacksonville to, meet with a player and his family and talk about the next level. Sometimes I'm home all day and I'm calling companies and I'm reaching out and I'm talking about strategy, and I'm doing calls like this where I'm face to face from our computers. And sometimes you know, I'm with my family, but I'm, working on a laptop and just doing my thing. So the flexibility and the being able to work remote in this new day and age since the pandemic started, of people really being illuminated to the concept of working from home, that has been very appealing for me, and I think it's made me more productive. And yeah, the consistent stuff is really just caring and being involved in the guys' lives, and making sure that you're communicating with them at least maybe once a day, maybe once a week, really whatever they're comfortable with on their schedules, and continuing to build a professional relationship with your clients.
Of course, how have you been able to balance working as an NIL agent and also family life outside of NIL?
Well, um, I mean, it's been very easy. I'm single, so for now, it's been pretty seamless. I don't have any crazy commitments. I've got you know, I do have some family that I've been helping out, and I'm really blessed to be in a position to be able to help out in the way that I have by devoting a lot of time. But it hasn't inhibited me from doing my job and getting what I need to get done for my guys done. So, um, yeah, it's really not been a struggle. I imagine, when I have, family, wife and kids and all that, I imagine it would be the same thing. Just like everybody, you do your 8 hours a day or your 10 hours a day, whatever your lane is, and you focus on your family the rest of the time. So, um, yeah, that's basically it.
What has that experience been like, obviously getting to work with these local college and football and basketball players?
Um, uh, you know, it's great. Everyone, like I said, everyone's special. Everyone's got a great story to tell. They come from different places. You know, um, I think the most eye-opening thing for me was when the pandemic started. Everyone was, home and, figuring out what is this new world that we're going to be living in, and being in lockdown and isolation. Just, talking to my guys every day. And, um, you know, George Floyd and BLM and these movements were really starting to have a national narrative. And, I'm a white Jewish guy, and I was empathetic, but I didn't really understand. That's not even true. I understood, but I just and being able to have relationships with these guys who, um, not all of them are white, plenty of them are not, and my guys would talk to me and tell me what they were going through and what was going on in their cities and what they were hearing and experiencing and what this all meant to them, and just being able to have an open dialect and learn and share and grow, and all of that was so incredible. And it was such a, I think even still to this day we're still talking about that narrative of this country and problems with race, and you got to be so sensitive and so right about what you're doing. I mean, there's so many good people in this world, but there's plenty of bad, and it's just very upsetting. But we could talk about this specific topic for a very long time, and I know that's not really the platform or the place to do it. But just going back to your question, being able to have a relationship with guys who are in different circumstances than you, I recommend it to everybody, whether it's professionally or personally. Just being able to talk to people who did not grow up the way you did and do not see the world the way you do. It's very, very helpful. It's very eye-opening. And it was very impactful to me personally to be able to talk to these guys about that moment and about things that are coming up nowadays. There's always going to be a new issue and a new topic and a new narrative of what's going on in the world. And it's going to be maybe two sides of the argument, maybe 40 sides of the argument, but it's very interesting to at least hear everybody and understand why they feel what they feel and why they think what they think. And so, yeah, I've just been really lucky to have relationships with these guys and to be able to understand where they're coming from and what their walks of life were and their family situation and why they believe what they believe. And it's been amazing.
Since NIL, what has that been like? Obviously, getting to work with these athletes to come out with their own merchandise to sell.
Um, that part's been fun. So there's two sides to it. First of all, not every athlete wants to sell their own merchandise, and it's just a quick conversation. Do you want to? And if you do, what does that look like? Does it have to have your school's logo on it, or do you want to have a more personal touch? Because both are options, but they're two different rabbit holes to run down. So a lot of schools have the licensing pretty much wrapped up, and they've only let a certain amount of vendors have the licensing rights to their university's apparel. So for those schools, it's actually kind of challenging to get my guys's name on a jersey and being able to mass produce it and sell it to their fans. That's been really hard. And some schools can actually get in the way of that, which has been very sad for my guys because it feels like they're literally getting opportunities taken from them by the school that they're playing for, which is crazy in this all-knowing, all-seeing day and age that's still happening. I'm not going to name names, but I'm trying to throw people under the bus. And I genuinely believe that they're trying to do what's best and that they're trying to, achieve a common goal, but it's definitely been hindering on some of the guys. So I imagine NIL and the space that we're in, just because it's so new and it's so fresh and no one really, not no one, but a lot of people really don't understand the potential and the ways to navigate it correctly. Like I have such an interesting perspective because I'm working right now. I'm literally working with 15 different universities. And so I can see just by talking to the licensing departments in each of the universities and the compliance departments and the athletic directors and all of the different components that are making the university function, especially in affiliation with my little branch of NIL, I can see which universities completely understand how to make it very easy for me and for my clients, and which universities don't understand and are actually making it much harder for me and for my clients to gain deals, especially in this apparel world. So it's no one's fault. It's just it's just like everything. You put a math problem together and you ask 15 different people to solve it. There might be 15 different ways to solve it, but some people are getting there a lot quicker. And so for apparel, it's been very exciting. And I just want to talk about one moment when you see one of your clients get their name on a jersey and you see their mom buy that jersey or get a free a free jersey sent to them or something like that. And you get that phone call, hey, Scott, my mom just got the jersey. She's wearing my jersey right now in front of me. It's sick. Like that moment is very special. It's happened to me multiple times. And I'm, it's what it's all about. I mean, it's so great. Big smile on my face, whatever I'm doing. You can tell how happy they are. I mean, they're competing. They work so hard to be in the position that they're in, and to have these little wins like that, those little moments, it's really special.
Of course, what has it been like obviously seeing these athletes have more of a social media influence role like the Cavalion twins have?
Um, yeah, so it's great. I mean, uh, so social media is such a big part of NIL. And I think for years, when social media was really growing and becoming this powerful thing, but NIL wasn't available to the athletes, there was like a maybe 8 or 10 year window where that was going on. What was interesting was you could be the star athlete of a university, and you'd be sitting in your, business 101 class, and a company could reach out to you on social media and say, hey, we love what you're all about. We love the way you play. And we just want you to wear our socks and put it on Instagram, and we'll pay you 50 grand. And the athlete had a contract saying that he couldn't do that. But then his classmate could be sitting right next to him, has the same amount of followers, and also attends the university, but for whatever reason they're a social media influencer too, because of what they're doing, and however they've cultivated their brand, but it's not associated with athletics. It's just could be comedy, could be fashion, it could be, I mean, there's so many different ways to become a social media influencer and have a big following. Could be podcasting like yourself. So the company could reach out to anybody who's not an athlete in that big bucket of people. And then the athletes were getting penalized because they were an athlete. And so, now there's crossover for, athletes who are social media savvy, and with this NIL space, it's very exciting. So, the Cavender twins, like they have broken so many glass barriers. They have gone through so many ceilings and continue to be leaders in this industry. And I always, every time they put out new content, I take a look just to make sure, I like to understand what the trends are, like what is happening in this space. Because if you don't know what's going on at the top, then you're not aware of like where your world can go. And so, I like to see what's going on with them, with Bronny, with all of the top prospects, like Arch Manning and all these, incredible athletes all over the country. Last year, like CJ Stroud, every time he did anything on social media, I was immediately aware, and I wanted to see what was going on, because to me, he's at the very top because everyone knew he was going to be a top pick, possibly the number one. I thought he should have been the number one personally, but he ended up being, I believe, two. I think Bryce Young was one. So like, you got to know about what's going on up top, and I guess it doesn't really matter. But there is this like subclass or the subdivision of NIL where it's like, are you there's I guess it's a Venn diagram. There's two categories. Are you a social media influencer who doesn't really have desires to be at the next level and go play professionally, but instead they want to build their brand and make that potentially a profession? Then there's the guys who really are athletes and they're focused on athletics, and they don't really care so much about NIL or building their brand. They just want to make sure they get to the next level, and everything else is noise. And then there's some people who are right. They can kind of play in both worlds, and they've got the ability to make it to the next level. They've got the savvy to put out social media and be likable and have people following them and cultivate their brand that way. And those worlds don't always collide, but like there's so many great examples. One that just jumps out to me is Grady Dick. He was on Kansas's basketball team last year. Kansas, they're so loyal to their fans. or sorry, their fans are so loyal to their athletes that they like, if you're good on their basketball team, people are going to follow you, period. So like he got a huge following just by going to Kansas. And then off the court, he did his thing. He posted, he showed where he was. He was doing little brand deals here and there. And the following just continued to go. And it wasn't really about him trying to be like, look at me, I'm a social media guy. He was really just being like, look at me, I'm an athlete, and this is where I am, and this is what I'm up to. And oh, really excited for the game coming up, and like all these little things. And just by being himself, he cultivated a following and a brand, which he had already started from, he already was kind of doing it in high school. But then when he got to Kansas, he really exploded. And now he's going to the NBA. And less than a month, we're going to know exactly where he's going to play, and he's going to have a whole new base of fans that are going to launch on. I mean, he's a very interesting person to study in terms of the social media space.
Of course, how has it been like obviously seeing people like the Cavion twins and Destroying open these platforms for younger college athletes to have more of an opportunity?
Every opportunity given is a blessing. So just any way for these guys to make a little bit of money is really special. And when you're on the side of where I am and having relationships with these guys, you understand that their lives are extremely challenging and that there's so much demand for their time. Being a student in college, a lot of us know that is hard work. It is not easy. And then being a student who is also an athlete and has athletic demands in terms of time commitment and physical, challenges throughout their day to day, week to week, summer and off season, like they don't get breaks. These guys work so hard. One of my clients, his name's Nick Boyd. He plays basketball for Florida Atlantic University. He's a point guard. He last season going into this year, he was injured, and he didn't really get an opportunity to train the way he wanted to train because he was coming off an injury. He was more in the recovery mode. And so when this season was going on, they kept winning and they were 20-1 and oh my God, we're going to be in the tournament and this and that. And it was a very exciting season. They got to, 30-3 or something like that, or 31-3 before the tournament. And they were 9 seed. They beat Memphis. Suddenly they're going to the Final Four. Like everything was such a rush. So crazy. Right after the tournament, we spoke and I was like, are you going to take a little time for yourself? Maybe kind of relax before you go back and practice. And, in his mind, he's so upfront about it. He's like, yeah, like, I'm going to take a week or 2 weeks or whatever. Like, I'm just going to relax and then I'll get back to work. I'll get back in the lab, so to say. And sure enough, the next morning, he was already like the day they got back from the tournament, he was already practicing. He's already playing pickup. He was already, working on new things for his game. I'm not going to unleash anything, but he's ready to take another step forward in his professional career. And it's that drive that I see every day in all of my guys, that it's unmatched. So Destroying is a great example. I actually know someone from one of his videos. His name is DeAndre Jackson. And if you watch his videos and you're super familiar, he was the guy wearing the shower cap. And, he's had a couple of highlights on that platform where he's torching guys and, really just getting, breaks away and makes nice catches. He's a really talented athlete currently at FIU. And, he has a massive social media following. It's because of, who he is and how hard he works on his social media. And he's basically sharing his journey of how hard it is to be a college athlete and the demands. And he'll go and work out 6 times a day and he'll show you, I was here at 5 a.m. doing this. And then at 7 a.m. I did this and then I ate. And then at 10 a.m., I'm back in the gym. Now I'm just going to do legs and now I'm going to do that. And you watch how demanding it is. And he got a lot of followers from doing well with the Destroying videos, but the rest of it's been all on his own. It's been amazing. So go check out Legendary Dre on TikTok or on Instagram and tap in if you want to follow along in his journey. Quick plug. Or really any of my guys. Go to nilempire.com and take a look at all my guys and see who you might be interested in following yourself or working with. Let me know. But yeah, for the most part, just the more opportunities, the better.
Of course, what is that like getting to work with these athletes like Amari and Baycock, Emily Cole, and the Cavion twins to have these private meet and greets so fans can get to meet them and stuff?
For all of my clients who have offered meet and greets, it's really cool. The fans range. Sometimes it's just, kids who are like, oh my God, they play at the college next to me that I've loved my whole life. And the kids, you see them high five a guy and then look at their own hand and say, oh my God, did you see how big his hand was? Because they're like tall athletes and these guys are kids, whatever. Or it's adults who have been like, man, I've been a fan of this team for so long, and this is the best I've ever seen them compete and perform. You guys are so great, whatever. Even if that interaction is half an hour, sometimes maybe 2 hours, it's really, really special. And I encourage anybody who has the means and they're in the right location or whatever to just try and get some sort of fan interaction, because to meet these guys, it really never disappoints, especially my clients. I won't speak for everybody, but my guys, they're good guys and they do the right things on and off the court and on and off the field. And I've never seen an interaction go poorly. It's always been really special and something very meaningful. And then my clients, like, we talk about it afterwards, man, did you see his face? Oh my God, look how excited he was. That was so cool. Or wow, I never knew that information that he shared or he or she shared about, that team back in the 70s or whatever. Like it's not like something that just happens and then we're done with it and we move on. It's like it impacts our lives just as much as it impacts their lives. So it's really wonderful, having a fan come up to you and just tell you, how much they root for you and how much they support you. Like, I've seen all my guys have that experience, and I can tell it's very impactful for them.
Of course, what are some of the things that you learned now that you didn't know before working in NIL?
Like every job, this has its challenges, and so I'm learning those challenges and trying to get past them. There's going to be pain points, and in the NIL space in particular, it's a new industry. In July it'll be 2 years old, and like all industries in their adolescence, there are still things that need to be ironed out. So I'm learning what the challenges are and how to get around them and how to push through them the right way, and to make sure that everything is, handled properly, correctly, and quickly. And I'd say that's the biggest part of it.
Of course, what are some of your future plans for NIL Empire?
Okay, I've got a couple goals. I would love to represent national champions. So in basketball and in football, my goal this year is to have a player on each of the national champion teams. And I'm not going to share the number, but I would like for each one of my clients to be making a certain amount of money per month. And that's another goal of mine, to make sure that these guys are getting compensated in a major way. So, the current numbers are great, but the future numbers I hope are going to be much better. And that's a personal goal. And then to take it a step further, expanding. Right now I'm in 2 sports. I'm in college basketball, men's, and I'm in college football. And I would love to get into women's basketball. There's a myriad of very interesting sports: soccer, baseball, hockey. I think cheer is very interesting. There's all sorts of sports that I think could get very could be very lucrative and very rewarding to work in. So I'm not sure how or when I'm going to expand. I think I'm going to really have to master my domain first before I'm ready to jump into another sport and try and take over that one as well. But for now, just looking around and seeing what's going on out there, it's been really cool.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to have agents represent?
Ask questions. Okay. It's so easy for me to tell guys what I'm going to do for them and tell them how I would like to help them and what my vision is. But what's more important is that they're asking me, questions about how that actually affects them personally. And if they have a vision, I want them to share it with me. Hey, I want to be a guy who only posts once a month because I want to be taken very seriously athletically. I don't want to look like a social media so and so. I want to hear that. I want to understand where their tactics are, where their mind is at, what their vision is for themselves and their brand. Because I can throw deals at them all day long, but if they don't feel comfortable with it, then what's the point? And then alternatively, I want to. It can be the same exact argument on the other side. I want to be posting every single week with a new brand deal because I want to be taken more seriously as an athlete, and I think that's the way. That's my perception. So share, explain, talk to the guys who are trying to represent you, and really see if they're capable of completing your vision. For me, I try and get my guys to make me work for them. A lot of my guys, they're self-starters, they're self-motivators. They have gotten to where they are practically on their own, maybe with the support of some family. But they've really done. They're like the guy who's like, I'm going to do this on my own. This is me versus the world. And they don't know how to ask me for help and say, Scott, I want to be on a podcast. Can you put me on a podcast? And say, it sounds so simple, me just sharing that right now, but not everyone has that ability to ask. And I'm trying to be, you're the guy who takes everything off your plate. And if there's something that you want to get completed that you don't want to personally do yourself, send it to me, talk to me. You're having trouble, having trouble in school and a personal relationship. And I think I can talk to you about it. I can help out. So make your NIL agents work for you.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to become an NIL agent?
I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier about drive. Just, have the drive really, if you're trying to be an NIL agent just to make money, this is not the space for you. You have to be able to be invested in your guys and to be ready to make an impact. Yeah.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find the NIL Empire at on social media?
So obviously the website, nilempire.com. You can also go to Instagram. It's at nil.empire. And if you go to my personal Instagram, it's I think it's at instascott17, I think. I also have a link on my page that goes to my podcast and also to NIL Empire, and you can see those. You can see all the updates of what's going on in our space.
Thank you again, Scott and Taya, for your interview, and best luck in your future with the NIL Empire and your future.
Brandon, thanks so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate your time. And if you ever want to talk NIL offline, just give me a call.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon. You can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Scott, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.